Right, it's Wednesday night. We're back Wednesday nights. We've had the last couple weeks. We were due to the holidays. We had a podcast on Thursday night, and we've got a real special one tonight. I want to mention that we're doing this with Michael Sanders tonight again, and we specifically asked you to do this. Um, Jimmy Carter passed away. Well, it's been probably a week and a half now. Is that about right, Percy?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and Jimmy, say what you want about Jimmy Carter, but the man loved music. Um, when he was elected president, he was smart enough to garner support from a lot of musical artists to help his campaign. One in particular, uh, it was the Allman Brothers. So we decided tonight that we would do the Allman Brothers and live tracks from the Allman Brothers in honor of Jimmy Carter. So this podcast tonight is in honor of Jimmy Carter and his love for music and his particular friendship with Greg Allman and the Allman Brothers. And he had relationships with other bands, but Jimmy, Plains, Georgia, Allman Brothers, Macon, Georgia. It just worked. It worked for him and his campaign. And the guy got elected. And we won't talk about his presidency, but we will say he was a great man. Period. That was a great man, and he loved music.
Absolutely. One of the quotes, and I haven't given anybody a challenge in a while, but I challenge people to watch the documentary Rock and Roll President.
Amen.
Jimmy said in that documentary, he said, music is proof that we all have one thing in common.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah.
And like Faye said, we don't want to get into, all this presidency and stuff, but I do want to mention one thing, and it's not about politics or anything. Jimmy said in that documentary, but some of his toughest times, he would go in a room in the White House and listen to Willie Nelson. Wow. And that just kind of eased, it kind of calmed him down.
Yeah.
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 Just, I mean, in the nerve of what we're talking about tonight, Jimmy actually presented Greg Allman with an honorary doctorate degree in music.
Yes.
So I mean, we could just stop right there.
Good.
It's one of those things that it's if you're a music fan, I mean, that's your guy, and but more importantly, just a world class humanitarian, and like me and the guys were talking about earlier. I mean, at 90 years old, the man's out there on a construction crew. We're talking about a past president building houses on a construction crew for Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, his efforts, to just speak for themselves, and so yeah, just amazing part of history and an amazing legacy.
Yeah. And here's a little story that proves that Jimmy was just a country boy. They were doing some benefit shows, some fundraisers for him when he was a governor, and Greg was supposed, and the boys were supposed to do one, and Greg got there late, and it was already finished, and he had never met him. And he said, I look up on the steps of the governor's mansion, and there's this hick sitting there with no shirt and no shoes. And I said, who the hell is that? And it was Jimmy Carter.
That's great.
Wow.
Right. What a great human being. I mean, a great man. It, we'll say about his presidency, nothing. But after his presidency, the guy did a lot.
This
He kept going till he was 100.
Another thing I found funny that, and I'm not trying to read anything else, and I thought it was funny because Jimmy said this. He said when he was running for office, he called, or he was in office, he called ABC anything but Carter.
It's funny. Yeah, I thought it was funny. Well, he was an amazing person, and he will be missed. And it's like when so many people die that you just didn't really think about, and then they're gone, and start thinking about them, you start learning about them. You're like, wow, so that's sort of with Jimmy. I think a lot of people are jumping on the Jimmy bandwagon right now, and they are learning what a great humanitarian he is,
But
basically, and love the music.
Jimmy
Sure,
said
sure.
single-handedly the Allman Brothers put him in the White House.
Yeah,
Because
true.
he didn't have a dime to his name, and they agreed to do fundraising for him.
And yep, and that's why we're doing the Allman Brothers Live,
So let's get into it.
which is a jam. My goodness, we've all been to the moon and the solar system and back this past week doing our homework on this one. Um, uh, God bless you, Amanda. I know you looked at me last night and she's like, "Get your earphones off, your headphones off. It's all you do is party when you get home." I'm like, no, this is Allman Brothers, baby. I'm getting into this. So it's been a fun last several days getting ready for this one.
You guys have destroyed my sleep rhythm and my productivity this week because in anticipation of this, I couldn't be more excited. It's no secret, the Allman Brothers is my favorite band, and this is my dream show. And I'm so thankful for you guys, letting me do it. But man, it's just, I mean, when you guys said, hey, we're going to do live shows, yeah, I was like,
Oh my
I
God.
was a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
I felt like the dog that caught the tar. I was
When
like,
you text me that, I was like, that I get it.
oh, this is serious now because as we all know, and love that the Allman Brothers are one of the greatest live recorded live bands of all time. So I mean, you talk about truly jumping in the banks of the deep end.
Yeah.
But it takes homework. But that's what's great about the First Impact show.
Hey, appreciate that. And you think this is going to be a good playlist?
Oh, man,
What are you thinking?
I can like.
I
I'm
don't even,
nervous with anticipation.
don't
that you
even
guys
know
will
what
bring.
person's working on, but you get some of these long jams in there. This could be a seriously long playlist, and it's going to be one. Put it on, hit shuffle, and enjoy your night.
Absolutely.
At night, you're probably going to enjoy 2 days.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it can go on
Or
and
at
on.
least a half a day. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it may be like at 17 hours now. I don't know.
Oh, good Lord.
They call the jam band crazy.
Yeah.
Any of our new listeners, we did an episode on jam bands. Go back and I'll try to post that. A link to our
Absolutely.
jam band
Yeah.
playlist that was probably a week long.
It was.
wow.
We did whole albums for that one.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This one, I mean, you look back at all the episodes we've done, when we finally get to the Allman Brothers. So we usually look for reasons, and Jimmy's passing was like the perfect reason to do the Allman Brothers. But they've been back there. We've just been waiting. When can we do the Allman Brothers? And like, I hate that Jimmy Carter had to die for us to decide to do the Allman Brothers. That makes sense. But hey, let's stop. So with that being said, let's get into our honorable mentions. But I want to thank our sponsors, Brindley Family Pharmacy. They do an amazing job. And this time of year, uh, yeah, I had to go. I passed Walgreens today. I had to get something, and there was a line at their drive-through, and I'm like, why aren't these people going to Brindley's? Go in, or they have a drive-through, and they're going to give you good care, and it's not going to be some corporate bullshit. Basically,
Yeah.
you're going to get good care by people that actually treat you like your family and a customer. So I want to say that about them because I truly love them. Busted Oak Bourbon Society. They've been so good to us. Percy and I, we don't, this weather coming in, we don't even know if we'll be open Saturday. But if there's a way, we will. And if not, we'll catch y'all next week. And finally, our good friends at Spicy Smokehouse Crackers, Robert and Lynn, do such wonderful things for us and with us. And they've got a great product. And if you ever see in any grocery store or store anywhere Spicy Smokehouse Crackers, you better grab them. Those because they're awesome. They do a
And I
fantastic.
want to say something too. I was thinking about this today at work. You champion like Brindley's, and we all do. as far as the independent and the service that you get as
Yeah.
opposed to. And I want to ask everybody, when you're out looking for smokehouse crackers, find an independent place. Find a store that sells specialty goods. Find
Yeah.
an independent grocery store
Yeah.
and help out the little man.
Help out the small business. Always help out the small business.
But
Wrong about that.
Walgreens never sponsored a Little League team.
No, they
You
didn't.
know what I
did
mean?
they?
But at least
Buy local, man. Buy
Yeah.
local.
Buy local, shop local. Want to drive that home. And these people were mentioning, or for local folks, I know we have people listening from all over the country and even all over the world. But this is our chance to talk about our local people.
because I've worked in the grocery business for 29 years, and the corporates, Walmart's pieces of shit, Kroger's pieces of shit, they all are. Find you a local place like a Foodland
Yeah,
grocery
that
store
Carrie Smokehouse
and
Cracker.
buy your smokehouse
There
crackers.
we go.
And the Foodland will also treat you as good as Brindley does.
Absolutely, 100%. So, with all that being said, a lot of love to the sponsors, by the way.
Looks like you got a new sponsor of Billy Bean.
Yeah, we've got some. That's my mother-in-law. I love her. I hope she listens to this because I want to tell you I love you. She had an old six-pack of Billy beer. If you don't know what Billy beer is, look it up. That's Billy Carter. That's Jimmy's brother. They tried to keep him in the closet. They couldn't. And he's a big beer drinker. While Jimmy was running for president, he looked like Jimmy, but he had a bigger, goofier smile and Coke bottle lens glasses. But it was epic, and the fact that we have 4 cans of Billy beer in here is pretty.
And I want to
Pretty
give a
awesome.
shout out to Gloria too. I hope she's listening because she was one of our biggest supporters on Facebook.
Yeah, I love Gloria. Love you, Mom. Love you very much. All right. With all the love, we've got it all out. Let's keep it in while we're talking about the Allman Brothers, because between Jimmy Carter and the Allman Brothers, this is a sort of a peace, love, and harmony episode right here. And the fact that this is live Allman Brothers music, promise you, if you listen to this playlist that Percy's going to put together, it will not disappoint, and it's going to be fabulous. And I can't wait to see what we've all collectively picked. It's going to be awesome. So we got all that out of the way. So let's get into honorable mentions. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Percy.
One last little quick story, Michael and I had talked about this before we started about the Allman Brothers biography, and what's the guy's name? Is it Jason Paul, or whatever his stuff? He's like the expert.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And
Anyway, reading that, and their roadie, Tim Payne,
famous roadie.
Greg told Kim, he said, I'm going to call you when we get this going. And Kim said, I don't never. And he called him. He said, I can't get out there. He said, can you send me something? He said, Greg sent Kim $50 to get him 3,000 miles on a bike. He said he made it back all the way back where Kim was from, was Alabama. He made it to Alabama, and then he got the rest of the way by other means.
I'm sure.
Wow, did not know that. But you know, the roadies of the band are just, in my opinion, just as famous as some of the.
Well, they're part of the family.
I mean, when you look at like with like Riggs Linda, for example, I mean that guy went to prison because he stabbed a club owner for not paying the Allman Brothers. Okay, now how loyal is your roadie? One way out the book that Percy was talking about. Yeah, I mean loyalty is on tap. This life.
Preston Howard, one day they just said, screw it, we're just going to go to Atlanta, and we come across Piedmont Park, and we're just going to start playing live.
Yep.
And the people just started coming, and the people started coming, and the people started
down
coming.
Absolutely.
We're gonna pump it down there for.
Don't make them like this band anymore.
No, we don't.
You can think about a lot of the bands out right now that are trying to be sort of like this.
They were, look,
They're the original.
line here, but they were the Southern version of the Grateful Dead.
100%.
100% on that. 100% on
100%
that.
agree.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't want to label them as like the kings of Southern rock. Man, these guys are the blues. And its influence made them a little more country blues, if you will.
Well, you know,
and jazz too.
Yeah. God, Elizabeth Reed, so jazz infusing.
I think it's fair to say that everybody looks at that band and like that's the quintessential Southern rock band. And frankly, the band was always dismissive of that because they
Yeah.
thought that it sort of pigeonholed them, and it does.
It did, and they didn't want those chains. I really feel like they broke them.
Sure.
They broke those
There's no
chains, and they
question
were
about it.
Southern rock, and there's the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And and the time frame that all this was going on, we're talking about segregated America or whatever. And and again, we touched base on this on our last podcast together. That we're in a time where black fellas and long hairs were not welcome,
Right.
and we got both in this band. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
and it's late 1960s, and we're breaking some chains, brother.
They did. They broke the boundaries. They broke the chains, and they put together some of the greatest music ever recorded or listened to.
When I think about that, the two words that come to my mind when I think about the Allman Brothers is authenticity and perseverance. Because, in my opinion, everybody that's listening to this podcast knows, music is the great communicator, and it picks up where words stop. And
That's deep.
I don't think there's any band, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, that transcends that gap more than the Allman Brothers. I don't care if it's 1969 or 2016. They are always pushing the envelope as far as that communication. They are
Yeah.
going to make. It's never been about a sound. It's about a feeling, and nobody sells it better than them.
That's a nice analogy. Yeah. And when Carter passed away, I text Percy and I just put it was a pretty simple text. It just said Allman Brothers question mark. And what I got back from him was live. And I'm telling you, everybody knows the Allman Brothers because Midnight Rider, Ramblin' Man, some of the radio hits that they had, and they were very awesome. But man, if you hadn't really dug into their live stuff, then we're about to give y'all the treat. Um, if you just need to dial into this podcast and the playlist that's coming out because you're gonna get a lesson tonight on the Allman Brothers on the live stuff, and that's why we wanted to have you here, Michael. So, boom, there we go.
Yeah, man.
We got some love out. Let's get into the music
Let's
picks.
do it.
Let's do it. Percy, honorable mentions.
My first honorable mention is probably one of the greatest live albums ever, and it's from the Fillmore East expanded edition, and it's not even sang or sung, however you prefer, by an Allman Brothers band member. The singer of the song is Elvin Bishop, and it's a straight up blues song on the expanded, and they do Drunken Hearted Boy.
Wow.
Always bringing it deep.
Yeah, that's like under the covers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to me, this song, a lot of people say, well, that's not the best song on the album. But you know what? This song single handedly defines to me what the Allman Brothers were, and that was blues.
Yeah. 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 Good choice.
Think you know till you run into a person.
I don't know. These always think some kind of. I don't know.
My next honorable mention is, and I had another version of this song from the Fillmore West, but I've discovered a different version. And it's You Don't Love Me from Brothers and Sisters. It's live, but it's slash Amazing Grace at the end.
Oh, that's good.
And it's from Winterland in 73. And there's something, I had this talk with Face. There's something about Bill Graham at Winterland.
Mm-hmm.
He had the sound in that place. When the Allman Brothers and the Dead were there, it was a different level.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Percy, but wasn't the last show at Winterland a Dead show?
December 31st, 1978.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I'm quite sure this is closing in Winterland.
Yeah, a lot of great Winterland shows out there.
Absolutely.
Go listen to that closing in Winterland.
Will do. Yeah, I think I've seen
Uh,
like some live.
I Need a Miracle Every Day. Blow your ears off. Anyway, my last honorable mention is host Dwayne. And a lot of people will argue with that. No, but I think Chuck Lavelle is one of the greatest people,
Thank you.
coolest people to ever walk. And you know what? He lived in Georgia forever, but he's our own. He's from Alabama.
He's an Alabama boy, absolutely.
In my opinion, the greatest artist the state's produced. I mean, when you look at his resume, you know, I mean, the Stones and the Allman Brothers, pretty stout.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what
I know Hank Williams and all that stuff. Chuck Lavelle is. We can all agree that Chuck Lavelle is the man.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, he
I
did.
will definitely say that.
Plays
and the song Southbound, but the version at
South.
Winterland with just Chuck on his piano, which is, I mean, when Chuck's bringing out that piano, to me, and I had this talk with Face, it, it was different without Dwayne, but to me, and some songs was better because it let focus to Greg and Chuck filling those parts.
Sure, sure. And it was important, you know, for Greg's evolution. And
You know, and Dickie tells the story, and he's like, after Dwayne passed, he's like, you know, they're struggling. Should we keep going or whatever?
Yeah.
And Dickie said, I looked up one day and he said, oh shit, gotta play slide.
right, absolutely.
He's gone. I got a new slide now.
Sure.
And then he realized if they were going to keep touring, somebody had to take up this slide.
Yeah, like
You know what I'm saying?
you fill those shoes.
You're sitting and something just hits you in the head, dude.
Yeah.
I gotta play slide.
Yeah.
I think it was really killer, you know, that they were wise enough. And I will say this to anchor for something later on in the conversation. Yet, there wasn't anybody on planet Earth that could fill Dwayne Allen's shoes. And they were wise enough to know that at the time.
Right.
But, you know, and so that came the segue with Chuck Lavelle. But I think one of the things that's so cool about that story is and I don't remember, I'm sure you guys do, who he was playing with prior to the Allman Brothers, but one of the coolest stories I ever heard about Chuck was that they were, you know, he was in a band that was opening up for the Allman Brothers or whatever, and he would actually set his rig up behind the stage and play with him. Now he wasn't mic'd up,
Right.
you know,
They
but
couldn't
he
hear
was
it.
bound and determined he was going to jam with him. So he was kind of in the Allman Brothers,
Yeah.
so pseudo anyway, before he was in it.
Cool
And,
story.
yeah, I mean, you know, he was digging on it.
There's also a great documentary called The Tree Man that's it's solely about Chuck Lavelle.
Yeah. What a great artist. All right.
Stuff.
All right, Michael. Honorable mentions, man.
Honorable mentions, man. You know, right out of the gate, you can't have you can't have the conversations we're having. You can't have a podcast like this. You can't go to a concert with anybody without, you know, brothers and sisters and not, you know, call it a revival in my opinion. So
Amen.
I'm going with my first honorable mention is Revival. The version I'm going to go with is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the date's going to be 7/26/03. And man,
Okay.
you know, if hey, like I said, Persian Bass Show, it's a revival, and if I'm ready to get in concert mode, Revival's one I'm going to spin for sure. So
Good choice.
I'm going to go with that. Second honorable mention is when was actually the song that sold the band on Greg. The story goes is when, you know, Dwayne was obviously come to the Muscle Shoals thing, got the brothers together, but they didn't have the singer yet, and he kept saying, "Just wait till I get Baby Bro." That's what he called him, Baby Bro.
Baby bro, he did.
And wait till I get Gregory out here. Wait, so he was selling Greg the whole time, but Greg was out in California filling some contract obligations from the Alma Joys, and he finally got him, convinced him to come down, and he was like, "All right, man." He's like, "Hit him with all," because he, you know, Baby Bro can write. He said, "So hit him with your songs, Greg." Well, he threw a couple of things at him, and, you know, to be honest with you, the band really wasn't that impressed.
Wow.
But when everything shifted was when he hit him with Dreams.
That's a great song.
He hit him with Dreams. So I'm going to go with Atlanta International Pop Festival.
Oh wow, okay,
Um,
that's a different one.
so,
than the ones.
You know, Greg said that
That's a great one.
was the only song that he ever wrote on a Hammond organ.
Yeah,
Was Dreams.
yeah, yeah,
Dreams, great choice.
totally. And number 3, honorable mention. You know, we already kind of touched on Chuck. You know, Bama boy through and through. You know, current member, I believe, right, of the Stones.
Yes,
Yes.
I got to see him with the Stones, and the people in
Chuck
in
played
Georgia,
so many people.
Yeah,
they called out the band members and stuff, and the people in Georgia, they're still crazy about Chuck. They still love Chuck.
yeah. Tuscaloosa, Alabama's the way I heard Mick put it.
That's good. Yeah.
So I was like, but I'm going with for honorable mention number 3. I'm going with Ain't Wasting Time No More. I'm
Good
gonna
choice.
go with
Yeah.
Macon on February the 11th, 1972.
Good stuff.
And all this stuff, by the way, on my list is you can get it on iTunes. You know, it's not like you got to dig it.
We can put on it.
Yeah,
It's office.
it's
Percy will find it. So we'll turn our little list in to Percy at the end of the night and go make the playlist. So all right, good stuff. Now, honorable mentions. Man, I'm going with one that I love. Government Mule ended up doing it again. First knows where I'm going. Soulshine.
It's a
yes.
that's a if I could pick one song in my life that I wish I had wrote,
It's Soulshine.
Christ,
if that song does not make you feel better, then you're just
It's the truth.
I could not
man.
agree more.
That's the truth. My version came from the Garden State Arts Center block in New Jersey. I just thought it was fabulous. So, I mean, yeah, there's some other live versions, but specifically chose that one. So,
Love it.
my next honorable mention, again, this is another post Dwayne. I'm going with Seven Turns.
Oh, man, thank you.
It's such a great song. And they did it, my version is the one they did at the Beacon.
Yeah.
Beacon, Allman Brothers. My goodness gracious, so good. And it was such an acoustic influence.
Yeah.
And this particular one, it's like, wow, that people need to hear this live version of Seven Turns at the Beacon. It's mad good.
Yeah, it showcase. I think Seven Turns it showcases the songwriting capabilities of the band. You know, because everybody thinks about the dynamics, the virtuosity of the Allman Brothers, and rightfully so. But you know, and like kind of in the same nerve as, like you said, Midnight Rider, Melissa.
Yep.
Seven
Yep.
Turns is one of those songs that I mean, this is just a song, you know,
Yep.
but gosh, it's got so much.
You said it's just a song with a lot of juice. It's not a jam song,
Right.
but live and the way they did it at the Beacon was, I just was totally impressed with it. So my last honorable mention, it's already been mentioned, but it's a different location. Going with Dreams. It's at their Idlewild, and this was at the Ludlow Garage. Where I mean, where's
Never heard of it till this week. But
no,
when
I got across it. It's
Yeah.
like, where's that? Great song. The song was so great. I think Molly Hatchet do a cover. It was totally different, which is really good. But this version, to me, that's the one. So, all right,
Love it.
guys and Goyles. There's no Goyles here, but guys, let's get into top 5.
my number 5. Gonna read that first word there.
Yeah, you got it.
Soulshine, written by Warren.
Better than
Hey.
Sunshine.
Yes, sir.
And my
Better than
version
Sunshine.
is
Damn sure better than the rain.
An Evening with the Allman Brothers Band, the second set from '95.
Nice. Nice.
And I will say that that's 1A and a 1B is Government View's version of that song.
It
Cannot be over.
not going to debate that.
The singer that comes in
Yeah. Like little Jimmy somebody.
and he sings every now and then, I feel a cold wind blowing through my aching bone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean,
Well, and
that's
it's
just crazy good.
Yeah, and I would say the same for the Bonnaroo version that Warren does, live at Bonnaroo, you know, in '04. I mean, it's a different take on the song, but I mean, it's just a masterpiece. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah,
Good choice.
no doubt. Good choice. Michael, what you got for 5?
Number 5, you can't have this conversation about live music without talking about Fillmore East in '71.
Mhm.
It's, not only is it, one of the most iconic rock and live albums of all times, but it's been archived in the Library of Congress. I mean, it's bona fide
That's wild.
American history at its best. You know, it the it, I'm going with just the story behind it. Just kind of showcases it. But in the early days, pre Allman Brothers, I don't know if it's kind of Allman Joy era or whatever, but there's a really good story about how Greg and Dwayne were on the outs. They weren't actually speaking at the time, and Dwayne had become very sick. He had
That was after the horse riding incident, wasn't it?
You know about the horse riding incident?
I don't.
This is after the horse riding incident.
They mentioned this song. I don't know, so
Yeah.
kind of save that.
Yeah,
when somebody mentions that song.
Yeah, tell the horse riding.
I definitely want to hear it.
Well, the horse riding incident was. I guess I'll just have to go ahead and mention the song. But anyway, they went out horse riding. Greg said, Dwayne, let's go horse riding. He said, this horse has not been shod. So if you go over something, he's going to kick a little bit.
Okay.
So they went over something and he threw him off. And Dwayne broke I forget what bone it was.
Something in the hill.
Anyway, he had a sling on his arm and he was pissed at Greg, wouldn't talk to the world. Greg went over his house with a bottle of Corseton pills.
Yep.
And a Taj Mahal record.
You know,
Well,
you know the story.
that's exactly what I was going to say. I didn't know about the horse part.
Yeah.
It's
So we got it.
by the way, if anybody can find a horse that I would
You make a note, right?
get some.
Okay. One that he used for a slide.
Um,
He still keeps it to this day.
Derek Truck has when he got into Allman Brothers, he got a several Corsean bottles from one of the roadies. I don't know if it was Twigs or Red Dog or whatever, but from time to time, on very privileged nights, they make an appearance live on stage, and it's a well known fact that his Dunlop signature slide is a replica of the Corsean bottle. But yeah, man, brought the Corsean bottle, brought a Taj Mahal record, just like Percy said. The funny thing was he dumped the damn pills out on the floor and put it on his finger, and because of that, we got Mono coming at you hot and heavy. There ain't nothing like it on slide guitar. Statesboro Blues.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Fillmore
what a great
87.
takeaway. Yeah.
And I
Good stuff. Build up on that one.
the version that inspired Dwayne to pick up slide. I'm gonna put the version of Taj Mahal with it's not Taj Mahal, but it's Jesse Ed Davis is playing slide on that. And I'm gonna put that on the playlist.
Unsung here,
Yeah.
Jesse Ed Davis.
Yeah.
Don't love that name.
Big time.
Huge player.
All right. That's a good story. Good stuff. Good selection. My number 5, this sucker is 17 minutes live. And normally I mean, I like this song. I've always liked this song. But 17 minutes, it just carried me to a whole different place. And it's instrumental. They've got a couple, but this one is in memory of Elizabeth Reed. And we all, I'd like to think, I say we all, not a lot of people know who the hell was Elizabeth Reed. She was some Southern belle that lived at Macon back in the late 1800s. But then Dickie Betts wrote the song referring to her about his current girlfriend who was another culture and was sort of dark and mysterious, if you will. And the 17-minute version of this was just, God, it just, you could, it's great. And that's my number 5.
Yeah, man. Nobody could sell instrumentals like the Allman Brothers. And, he wrote that song. The whole band, was notoriously hung out at Rose Hill Cemetery in Macon, which is a beautiful, gorgeous pre-Civil War cemetery.
Yep.
In Macon. But her grave was there, and he actually wrote a lot of the melody, understanding there.
Yeah,
And all the brothers are buried there.
pretty much. And Macon is good. That's a good weekend trip.
Gotta go. Any self-respecting Allman Brothers fan has got to go spend the weekend in Macon.
Yeah, and eat at the Rookery.
Yeah.
That's where the Allman Brothers used to hang out. They've even got the Allman Brothers burger at the Rookery, and that place has been there forever. We can go see the Big House, Capricorn, whatever, all that.
That's
Jimmy
Allman
Crash
Brothers.
Pad is
Yeah,
she was
the
talking
Hippie
about
Crash
earlier.
Pad.
The woman's name escapes me, but they used to go to her diner, and they would go in there and say, I don't have any money.
Yeah, they were broke.
We'll come back and pay you back."
Yeah.
And she never expected them to, but they always
They
did.
always
Yeah, she propped them up, and they never forgot her. I mean, as they went through different periods and seasons of their lives, they never forgot her. But yeah, you're exactly right, Percy. She took care of them.
Great story. Southern Gentleman, believe it or not. That's good stuff. All right, Percy, 4 for you.
Number 4 is a cover of one of my favorite blues musicians, and it's actually a topic that we're going to have coming up, and it's a cover by the great Elmore James, who, in my meaningless opinion, is the godfather of slide guitar.
Yeah, we got Slide coming up.
And this is Done Somebody Wrong, and I'm going from the Macon City Auditorium, 2/11/72. And I just want to say the version of this song, what really kind of stuck out to me was the song where you could really feel Barry Oakley's bass coming through on this version.
Yeah, right.
You can just feel it.
Yeah.
And I think that's true with a lot of live bands, and I think they did this on purpose. Sometimes it's true with the Dead. It's like, okay, we're going to go this way this time and focus on you, and then we'll go this way this time. And Bob Weir always said, like, 2 of us went one way and 2 of us went the other, and then we just meet up.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's what's true with the Allman Brothers. They would just go around and it worked.
Next thing you know, they're all together and they're jamming like hell. It's great. Good choice.
Yeah. I don't think B.O. gets enough credit, not just sonically, but also in terms of band leadership. A lot of people think he was just a bass player, and really for a time period, he was the post Dwayne's death. I mean, he was the glue that kind of held it all together for a bit.
We just call him Barry because that seems really.
I know, right? Not the same thing. That's what they called him. They called him B.O. But I know. It's true. It's not the nickname at all, for sure.
Well, I mean, guy from the Dead that was named Kick Ben.
Oh, yeah. Probably not real popular with the ladies, I would imagine.
Probably not.
No, in the 60s, in the early 70s in the band, yeah, he was. He just had his.
No.
It's with the band or work.
Yeah. Number 4, another instrumental. And always loved this song. The piano in it is out of this world. Great jam. Remember do y'all remember the rock band Telluride out of Birmingham? You probably don't. Anyway, you do. They used to love to play this song, and I'm going with Jessica. That is just such a great instrumental. And the one I'm going with it was from the beginning. Man, they kicked it. They kicked it. And was LaBelle on piano with that?
It would probably, if it was, he came to the band in '72. Now, I'm not sure when he exited. I think it was kind of that sort of dry period, because I know him and what was the other bass player, the black guy that was
Yeah, was it Nathan East or?
no, it wasn't Nathan East, it was another guy. But anyway, they went and did Sea Level.
Okay.
And because there was turmoil within the Brotherhood or whatever. But
Well,
yeah.
Chuck never like he was only on one studio album and did some tours with them, but I don't think they ever said officially you were the Allman Brothers. He kind of just became one. He kind of just
Yeah,
Yeah.
made himself.
and then Chuck had so many irons in the fire.
Yeah.
Chuck had tons of stuff going on, playing with for other people in studios, and I mean, and then eventually going with the Stones. He had so many irons in the fire.
He was definitely a player.
True that. True that. Well, Jessica, that was my number 4. I love the song.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and check it out. And we all will be tomorrow. All right, nitty gritty time. Percy, number 3.
My number 3 is another blues song, and it was recorded by Elmore James, and it was. Y'all see my love for Elmore, and it was first recorded by Sonny Boy Williamson's in the early '60s, and it's from Stony Brook in '71, and it's Ain't But One Way Out. Might be your man, I don't know.
Yeah, babe.
You got it.
It's great. You ever been in that situation, Percy?
Not a good many years.
If I have, I ain't telling.
Ronnie, God knows I love Leonard Skinner and Ronnie Van Zant, but when he was saying "Give me 3 steps," what he should have been
It's
saying was,
basically
"Ain't but one way out."
the one way out. Yeah, good choice.
And nothing else. This gets people to digging in to some Elmore James.
Yeah.
All right, maybe.
Dig in to who influenced the Allman Brothers, and that way you'll know where they came from.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good. Number 3 for you, Michael.
Number 3, I'm something that like to me, it's one of the most emotional songs that's ever been written, and probably one of the greatest love songs ever been written, in my opinion. I can't like it ain't springtime until you turn this one loose. And the backstory on this one is it was actually written about one of Dickie's past wives,
Yeah.
Henrietta Blue Sky, and going back to talking about Macon and the big house. If you go to the big house in Macon, you're actually not only can you see the table that the song was written on, but the actual notes and lyrics that Dickie wrote are hanging on the wall in there. And the line, good old Sunday morning, bells are ringing everywhere.
Yeah.
If you walk across the street from the big house, there's a church. So man, for my money, absolutely, I think one of the most beautiful songs ever written.
Blue Sky's a pretty song. What do you think? A road trip to Macon?
Always, man,
Alright.
love it. I'm gonna go with Stony Brook, New York, and 71 for that
Nice.
for that live track.
Nice selection. All right, good song. Yeah, absolutely. My number 3, it's they did this in Puerto Rico. It's what is it? The Mari Soul Festival in Puerto Rico, and I'm going with Ain't Wasting No More Time. And they kill it. I wonder how the Puerto Ricans took the Allman Brothers. I I bet they loved it. I don't know. I was like, man, they jammed in Puerto Rico, and they jammed on this one too.
Yeah,
It's a great cut. Yeah, one of my favorite songs they do. Right, Rounding the Bend, Percy, number 2.
But before I mention this, I talked to Trace about this earlier, but I have to say this just to stick it to him. But they did a great album, and Greg didn't really think so much of it, but reading the book, Chuck Lavelle said he was really proud of it, and it's the title is it like check your wipers and gas is $1, something like that. Check your window and wipers and gas is $1. And I have to stick it to face because it was recorded in Bakersfield.
He's always found a way.
But it's a great album, so we can play 6 Degrees of Buck tonight.
Damn it. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna read this out loud. This is a song.
Wasting time. Wasting no more time. You got it.
That was mine, and it's from the Macon City Auditorium in '72.
All right, so different venues then.
Yes.
Yeah.
But still, that song is,
It's great. I mean, it's great.
and I'm not going to quote one of my favorite lyrics in that song. We'll let that slide.
But there we go. All right, that was your 2, Michael.
Number 2, man, I think it's just an absolutely phenomenal piece of music from a recording and a writing standpoint, and it really highlights Greg's vocals, of course, but a Sonny Boy Williams song, it, and I'm going with a version from the Fillmore in '71, and I kind of want to take this opportunity, bringing up the Fillmore, to share an interesting story. If you and I'm sure most people listening to this have, if you look at the cover of of the Fillmore show, which we've already said, one of the most iconic albums of all time. If you look at it, there's the picture, which in my opinion, is equally as iconic. You're gonna see you see the band and they're laughing. And the story goes is, that kind of makes you wonder why. And if you look, Dwayne had a very vicarious look on his face. And there's a very good reason for all of that. The story goes is that the photographer, even though, of course, the show was at night, he wanted to take that shot early in the morning so he could get the appropriate lighting. Well, he got everybody lined up, and got everybody cheesing up and got him where he wanted it. And he's like, all right, we're going to take this on 1, 2, and on 3. The older Allman, Mr. Dwayne, decides to run down the alley at the last second. And because he spots what we will call his favorite amateur pharmacist. And so they do a deal. He gets back down, clenches a bag of heroin to his
Nice.
to his crotch, so the vicarious look is for obvious reasons, and the band are laughing at him because that's kind of how the count went to 3, and we got probably one of the most iconic.
That's a great story.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with man, One Way Out, Fillmore,
Ain't but
71.
so good, so good. Good choice, good story too. I mean that I'll never be able to look at that album cover again without realizing that Dwayne Allman ran down the alley to buy some heroin and then came back and had a picture taken. That's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, let's just hope.
Pretty freaking awesome. I mean, heroin is not awesome, but the fact that that was, quite a story is pretty funny.
Yeah, definitely not promoting that drug use, but that's good stuff. No,
Yeah.
it's good stories anyway.
Yeah, the baby stuff.
Right.
All right, my number 2. Hold your hat there, Michael. Fillmore. Trouble No More. Come on, man. It's such a good one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that
Bringing the
when it opens, I just instantly start drifting. Like just such a good song.
Yeah.
And there's a great cover band out, by the way, called Trouble No More, and I've seen them at Avondale. If you ever catch them playing anywhere around here, they saw them do the whole Eat a Peach album, and they killed it. So it's great. That's my number 2. We're at number 1s already. Percy, what you got?
My number 1 is probably, just right off the top of my head, my 3rd favorite song ever. Taught me that a white man could sing the blues.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a great story about how one of the greatest bluesmen ever, the first time Albert King ever heard that skinny little white boy singing a blues, he had to stop playing and turn around and look.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the version from the Fillmore East of Whipping Post.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, all you Stevie Ray Vaughan fans, no white man sings the blues like Greg Allman.
Great. 100%. I love SRV, but Greg Allman was the greatest white man blues singer ever, period, and ever will be. End the story. No discussion, no debate.
To take a line from Mr. Face himself, I will stand on a mountain and say the same. A lot of times in this conversation, Joe Cocker comes up, and to me he's a soul singer. But when Greg Allman opens his mouth, lives get changed. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and it really is.
It just it stands for itself. Excellent choice. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
personally.
You're number 1. I can't wait.
Man, it would just be a continuation of everything that Percy just said. I shudder to think of what modern music would sound like, or southern rock, if you will, if you choose to go that route. What the world would be like, without Gregory Lenore Allman. the sheer mention of his word, is emotional to me. And then that's why I picked the song that I did because, Frank, if I'm just being completely honest, I mean, since Greg died in 2017, I probably spun this song less than 20 times because it to me it's the personification of that band and that man and how he could bring people and together through music. And to me, for my money, there's never been a greater, more sincere vocal track committed to tape than Please Call Home
Oh man, what a great song!
by Greg.
Yeah.
I'm definitely into you know the recorded version out there, but I think there's one off the Epic Years live recording that's really good. But to me, I mean, if you want to hear a man's soul beckoning at its best,
Yeah.
that's your track.
Yeah, it's a good one. Good choice for number one. I appreciate that. Yeah. My number one's been mentioned. Whipping Post. Give me a break. To me, that defines the Allman Brothers. I'm choosing that version that is 22 minutes and 50 seconds long from the Fillmore, and it's got a different ending. Uh, but we'll let Percy be the judge as far as what goes on the playlist, as long as Whipping Post is on there.
Well, and I want people. The one thing I got from this week, so many, and I had this talk with Face. They put that album, as well as they should, up on a pedestal, and they expect every other album
To be
to
that
be as
good.
almighty as that album.
Yeah,
That doesn't diminish those albums,
sure.
but they're not going to be. It's like compare this, and I, this is Amanda's fault, Face's wife. But I have so many Grateful Dead analogies. But I pair this a lot. They're a lot like the Dead.
Yeah,
I mean, and so many things that they did. And the Dead had 72 Europe, which was just like this monumental.
sure.
Yeah, and they couldn't, try to live up to that. I get,
Eventually. But,
and the Allman Brothers did too.
Skinner had one more for the road. And
I mean, and they had to try to live up to that. They had Three Bird Live on it. Played pretty for Atlanta. They live up to that every time after you.
there's a lot of bands like that. And I kind of feel for them. Because you go back, I've got a vinyl copy of 71 at the Fillmore. Not 72, but 71. The record store release. Great album.
Yeah,
Go back, listen to the Fillmore West
Right.
from 71.
yeah.
Such great albums. Just don't say, okay. And this, the greatest thing this podcast has done for me, it's made me a little more open minded about.
Yeah,
Would you
amen.
not agree to that?
Yes, 100%.
For sure, for sure.
About
We've all evolved a little bit. You have as well, and it's beautiful. So we have a Percy's pick.
We
this
do.
week. What you got?
My Percy's pick is this comes from several albums he did called 61 Days in Church. And it's when I really got to really liking Eric Church because he does some great covers. And he does a cover of Ain't Wasting Time No More.
Yeah.
No
And he was in on he was in on the All My Friends show too. They did for Greg, which is basically like their version of the Last Waltz. They did for Greg. Yeah, man, great cover.
Good stuff. I don't know about you guys. We've done, I don't know how many episodes we've done, 150, I don't know, give or take, whatever. We're not counting right now. We'll count them up in June. But I had more trouble ranking this list than any other podcast we've done. I could put everything, including this honorable mentions, and shuffle them up in a jar and just pick them out and say, this one, this one, this one, this
Yeah.
one. And I think you're going to get that from the playlist because it is just going to blend so well live. It was so hard to pick. And then when you did, it was even harder for me to rank them.
Sure.
And it's just great.
So
Just
hard to
great.
do a band like that justice because
I hope we did them somewhat, a little bit of justice, we've given it what we can, our best.
Indeed.
But how do you give the Allman Brothers justice in an hour, or less? It's pretty tough. But and I think in this case, and the reason here, it's a couple of episodes I've been like really pushing the playlist, uh, is because if you're not sort of drinking what we're pouring here on the podcast, then shut the fuck up and listen to the playlist the next day when it comes out. Because if that don't grab your attention, then just go back to whatever the hell you were listening to in the first place. Because this shit is going to be something really incredibly special.
It's the literal school of rock,
It,
and that's the great thing about the show and music. Music's a buffet. You take what you want, leave the rest. Allman Brothers is a great example of that. There's so much there for you to pick from, regardless of your musical taste. But the great thing about this show is that no matter how big a music fan you are, student music or whatever, there's always going to be something on the table. And that's why I love doing the podcast, because I can take a break from taking notes on Wednesday night.
There you go. All right. I love it.
Love
Thank
you guys,
you,
man.
Michael.
Thank
Love you. Thanks for coming. It's been great. Next week, we're going to see Ringo Starr in Nashville.
On Wednesday.
Yeah, on Wednesday. So we're going to do the show on Thursday. Night Long is going to come back. We're all going together to see the show. And then when we get back Thursday, we're going to, whatever, go home, freshen up, whatever, and come back in here Thursday night and break down all things Ringo Starr.
All things Ringo.
Which, shit, all things Ringo is pretty good. We'll be able to talk about our concert experience. We're looking very much forward to that. And we're looking forward to you coming back, Michael.
Can't
We'll
wait.
keep always being here. I can't express enough how much I appreciate you, and I mean that. So,
Indeed.
Percy, love you.
I love you, brother.
And so, what are we?
Well, one thing, we're shitty, but we're consistent.
Yep. Good job.